Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our brand new Let's Play for our channel from the forms of the Maxi Toys department. This time around, we haven't done a single Wario game ever since in WarioWare Smooth Moves back in 2013's 1000 video special, but aside from that, we can now able to actually do a proper Wario platformer game on the actual Let's Play department. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is Wario World for the Nintendo GameCube. First released in 2003 for the Nintendo GameCube, so everything else to be expected. And this game actually played out very differently, or usually kind of feels like similar to Wario Land series, but except obviously it just takes place in a three-dimensional look, rather than just on the forms of the 2D plane. So even then, yeah, I did manage to play this game on my own time just to get enough practice of it, and then after able to actually complete it for a while, this means I can able to actually jump into this Let's Play, which I'm actually really looking forward to do this Let's Play, by the way, because well, you guys have not seen a Wario Let's Play ever since then. So either way, but except rather than doing with WarioWare of all things, because even then, we're just mainly going to be focusing on the platforming genre with Wario. So either way, let's get into the forms of file 2 right here. So even then, we can able to actually get this game started. And let us get into the forms of Wario World for the Nintendo GameCube. And I think we got ourselves a plot to read through. Long ago, there was an evil black jaw that fed on the wishes of people, turning their desires into power. The dark jaw gave birth to many evil spirits, who then foment the good creatures to of the world. Then, just when it seems like the evil spirits would overrun the land, the spiritlings of the secret forest, I'm sure the Black Jaw was hiding away deep in there with, the ruins. I do apologize with the actual reading description or anything like that, because most of the text goes, like, pretty fastly insane. So, ooh, free at last. I am clock full of power. I think I'll turn all of this greedy castle into its, well, you might as well be able to know and find out whenever we're able to continue with the actual beginning portion of the game. So, yeah, if you know Wario, what he looks like, he always loves gold and treasure, so even then though, for those of you who have ever played Wario Land series before, right until the forms of Wario Land 4, then you know exactly how Wario is also very greedy at the same time. So, well, what's going on down there? I'm guessing this Black Jaw, which appears to be a villain of this game, which apparently he somehow managed to make Wario's castle into, well, almost like nothingness. So basically what the plot is all about is the fact that the Black Jaw, which is represented with the evil diamond of jewels and all that stuff, it's you know how it is. It's basically when Wario's castle might actually go into its like vanquishing point, and looks like it's up to Wario to able to save the day. In addition with vanquishing the forms of the actual Wario's castle, they also managed to kidnap every single spiritlings, which are essentially the forms of the NPCs of this game. So either way, and right off the bat though, we actually immediately get into the forms of the hub world, which is called Treasure Square Courtyard, by the way. And right off the bat though, we actually come across into not one, not two, but 4 worlds in the game, which is a little bit short. Just like the forms of how it does here on Sonic the Hedgehog for Episode 1 and Episode 2. But, we'll get to that in a moment until later on, though. So, yeah, and as you can see on this particular, environment, as you can see right there, that the ultimate goal for this game is obviously we need to, go for this big treasure chest here. And you do realize it's actually stay locked. That's only because, in order to actually complete the entire game, is that we need to collect these keys. I mean, all 4 of those keys, which means we need to traverse through every single world by able to actually retrieve one. So either way, let's just dash forward a little bit. Yeah, as you can see with those little glass containers, these are represents for, we'll explain more on those particular stuff whenever we get this game started. So either way, yeah, and also same applies for this particular, heart panel, as you can see right there, which, again, are pointings out whenever we get to the actual Let's Plays considered. And also, we actually come across into the actual to-do list, which, if we manage to press the B button, which is simply just a punch button, it's basically to-do list, which you got things like, wipe the boss, which is basically grab these red diamonds, and also get a heart fragment, meaning that you need to get the actual golden statue pieces. And finally, get your stuff back, which means, or get back my stuff, which means you must find all the treasures. So, as far as I'm aware, when it comes to the forms of the amount of treasures that we can get, I think there are about 8 of them in total, so either way, we'll probably have to point things out whenever we get this game started. So either way, let's begin with the first stage in the forms of Wario World, in this case, the first world in the entire game, which is none other than, well, Excitement Central, which is the first world, and the first level in the game is Greenhorn Forest, which, if you couldn't tell with the actual main theme of this particular stage, that will instantly bring that back until whenever they manage to remix it for Dancing Stage Mario Mix, or DDR Mario Mix for short, for those of you who lived in North America. So, anyways though, this is how Wario World's gameplay looks like when it comes to this particular game itself. Basically, it's like a 3D platformer game, and it's also a combination of a 3D beat-em-up game, sort of similar to the forms of how it does it in most other beat-em-up games. Like, specifically, there was one from Streets of Rage and all that stuff. And by the way, as you can see, we got one of the treasures, and what you can do with them is the fact that you can able to actually do a little bit of a transfer system by simply able to actually use the actual ability to use the Game Boy Advance cable link, which kind of like it does the exact same thing for how it does it in Sonic Adventure Duology games for Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic Adventure 2 for the Child Garden system, and the same applies for the Sonic Advance games doing that as well. So, oh, what do we have here? Wario, hi. I've been waiting for you. I am the Spiritlings of the forest. I have really bad news. That evil black jaw you stole is sucking up all of your negative greed energy spiraling around in your castle, and terrible things are starting to happen, honest. And after when you read for that specific stuff, it tells you how to play the game. So either way, I'm going to skip most of these dialogues for the most part though, because they are essentially the forms of a tutorial-based kind of Spiritlings, which I will admit though, apologize with the actual tongue twisting in the end, folks, just because, well, obviously because of how the fact that, wow, it has been quite a few days since actually coming back to this game. I think the last time I actually touched upon this game was actually by the forms of about, I would say, almost a month ago, just in case I need to able to complete the game first on my own time, and after playing for a bit, I simply managed to enjoy it. Because at first glance, whenever I managed to first saw this as a kid, I was a little bit skeptical at first, just because, well, obviously that because it's on 3D platforming and stuff like that, it's also has a huge emphasis on combat. I was a little bit skeptical at first, as I said before, but after when I played it back in June in 2018, which is almost about a year ago when I first got this, alongside with Kirby Air Ride for the GameCube, as well as the forms of the PlayStation 3 version of Sonic 06 for controversial purchase. I actually do really enjoy this game from now on, because even then, I certainly think that this certainly is way more better than the forms of how it does it in Master of Disguise on the DS, by the way, because of the actual, well, tedium in them. So either way, as you can tell, that we're actually going to be beat the crap out of these enemies right there, and what you can do with them, those attacks are really satisfying whenever you see them on screen. Like, Wario's going to be doing a sort of a similar technique as you normally do from Super Mario 64 when you're trying to able to actually just to spin around Bowser with his tail and then just simply to swing it from like a 360 turn, which, you know, it's really satisfying, I'm telling you. And similarly, it's the fact that, well, he can able to actually just pull up some of these actual voice clips every now and then, which I think some of the voice clips in this game might actually heavily borrowed from the likes of, let's just say, mainly focuses on, well, let's just say in Wario Land 4, because I think this game came out exactly the same year as when WarioWare Inc. Minigame Mania was being released on the Game Boy Advance. And speaking of which, actually, is the fact that for those of you who've ever got yourselves a Game Boy Advance cable link, which I unfortunately still don't, you can able to have the ability to able to actually play the demo version of the forms of Wario Land, or no, WarioWare Inc. Minigame Mania for the Game Boy Advance, or make micro games if you lived in North America, which is pretty cool, but it's also a little bit more redundant now because I've already still got the game on the original cartridge for it, so even then, it might be seems a little bit pointless for me though. So either way, in addition with like collecting those treasures, as you can clearly see, you can also manage to able to gather yourselves the actual golden statue pieces, which again, I think it might actually reveal something whenever we finish up the main level. And also we need to find all 5 of those spirit links, because in order to actually get 100% for this game, be sure you need to able to find every single of those spirit links, because if you don't, well, just like the Form Safari does it in Luigi's Mansion, is the fact that we actually get to come across into ourselves some different endings. It depends on how well you're able to actually be good at it. So either way, but then again, we'll point things out whenever we're able to get to the very end at least. So, and every once in a while though, as you can see right there on this little cash point, you notice we actually got ourselves about quite a few coins, as you can see, specifically 196 at this point. Well, right now it's now 176 coins. It's mainly because this game is super generous with coins you can able to get, like either for enemy contact, all these treasures, and all these obstacles you have actually destroyed. And, you know, possibilities were endless when it comes to, like, getting some more coins in this game, which I will say, this game is super generous when it comes to, like, giving you a whole bunch of different coins that you can grab. Which, either way, though, that's as far from the case. So, yeah, with the, you know, with the actual, the cash vending machine with the actual garlic on top of it, if you manage to obtain the garlic, though, this acts as a health, which basically, as you can see, Wario does have himself the actual health system, just like the Form Safari does it in Wario Land 4, and before, let's just say before Wario Master of Disguise, and also same applies for Wario Land The Shake Dimension, which basically, the amount of times you weren't able to actually get hit by enemy contact or certain hazards or anything like that, you lose your part of your health. So even then, to be expected for most other platformer games out there. But either way, the noticeable thing about it is the fact that we actually start things up with, let's say you start things up with only like 4 hearts to begin with. But then later on though, whenever we're able to collect every single part, most notably with the actual golden fragment pieces and all that stuff, or even the golden statue pieces, the more hearts you collect, then the more, a little bit more easier it is to come. So even then, for the sake of clarity, I think this is going to be the definition of the 100% completion of this Let's Play, just because, well, I did manage to play this game, I did manage to 100% it at first, so even then it was about time for me to able to do the actual 100% completion of this Let's Play during time. However, there will be going to be some occasional struggles, most notably whenever we get to the very end. Well, not necessarily at the very end of the game, like the last point of the game, but likely until later levels though, some of these puzzles, as you can see right there, that we actually come across into these bonus areas from time to time, which actually represents that you can able to actually just simply just ground pound whenever you come across into this little, the cross formation, and that actually represents that you can able to normally use the normal ground pound to able to actually access the actual bonus area. So either way, some bonus areas can be stuffed up as, like, specifically, you know, just puzzle heavy, which either way, if you successfully do this kinds of stuff, then you were able to reward quite a few number of rewards, like specifically, these red diamonds, as you can clearly tell, which this allows you to, well, I'll explain more on that later whenever we continue our progression for this game, so even then it was a little bit too early to speak of, and, there's also some occasional, well, the golden statue pieces as far as you're most likely concerned of, and there's going to be some rare occasions that we might actually find ourselves the spirit links on that specific bonus areas to top it off, and also same applies for the forms of some bits of health of your garlic and stuff like that, which, because again, warriors seem to love garlic so much, but either way, that's besides the point. So every once in a while though is the fact that we actually come across into these color coding buttons, as you can see right there, that the one I managed to able to activate recently, and this actually represents you're actually going to be activating one of those treasure switches. Depends on what color switches you're going to be pressing, then you can have to find it by yourself. So either way, some treasures might be a little bit more easy to find, while some of them can be pretty tricky to navigate, because most of your time, you don't necessarily need to rotate the camera around on a 360 turn, but either way though, that's as far from the case. So anyway, yeah, when this game was first announced, well, despite the fact I never even, like, owned the actual Nintendo GameCube up until in 2003 or 2004, I can't remember exactly what time that will be, but, I've noticed I definitely noticed I never actually heard of this game up until let's just say in 2017, for instance. And I recently researched upon this game when this game was first announced back in, I would say, in E3 2002 or something like that. As is usually based off on the actual tech demo or something. And for what I've noticed, it's actually a pretty interesting fact, but I've noticed that game will be delayed until 2003, which that's what this game was finally gets its release in that particular year. Which, despite the fact that game was now, I would say 16 years old right now, because after all, it is still 2019, we currently lived on later on though, for the sake of time. But either way though, it's a nice little things to able to actually just to point things out. So either way, let's grab this piece of garlic, which it might be a little bit more redundant because we're still on full health. So either way though, things can get a little bit more sporadic and stuff. So, oh yeah, because yeah, today's day is the forms of the 1st of November today, in this case yesterday, that Definitely has now recently finished up with his Let's Play of Pac-Man World. So even then though, it's about time that we can now able to actually deal with like some more gaming stuff as far as I'm aware. Like, I think this might actually be, well, alongside with the forms of the actual true final Let's Play for 2019, which we're probably not gonna spoil things up until later on throughout in Christmas time or something. But then again, that was until when it gets to later on, as it is though. And aside from all that though, is the fact that, well, one thing we truly need to mention about that is the fact that in addition with when me and Sylvester will eventually come back into, you know, the Let's Play of Mario Kart 8 / Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Nintendo Switch / Wii U until tomorrow and stuff like that. But, either way though, things can get a little bit more comfortable at this point, but either way though, I'm just truly trying to save at this point. So anywho though, oh yeah, you can also just manage to throw the enemies into the further distances, as you can see with that specific color switch I actually activate, or you can just simply manage to able to jump and punch at the same time. So naturally speaking, when it comes to the controls, I just want to mention is the fact that obviously a control stick allows you to able to move Wario in the actual likely in a freedom movements and stuff like that, and also A is to simply just jump, and B is to able to punch. And my favorite technique, if you really want to able to speed things up with this entire game, you can able to actually press the R button and then just press A at the same time, which allows you to able to perform a some sort of a charging attack as well as the actual jumping button at the same time, which kind of reminds me of that particular long jump from the likes of Super Mario 64, by the way. Despite with the forms of Super Mario Sunshine doesn't have the actual long jump to begin with, which will be heavily borrowed back in the forms of Super Mario 64 DS, and especially noticeable with the Galaxy games, of course, and especially noticeable with 3D Land, 3D World, and especially noticeable the most recent 3D Mario game, which is of course Super Mario Odyssey, which either way, that might be a little bit more consumption for this throughout. So either way, but then again, as I mentioned before, that I will gonna be showing you guys the actual 100% completion of this Let's Play though, because if for those of you who've ever first time playing the game, well, I highly recommend you look it up through our Let's Play of the game, because chances are, if you don't know where the actual collectibles are, well, I highly recommend you able to look it up, because either way, I'm just gonna able to actually just to tell you guys where some of these collectibles are gonna be located. So, even though also, originally we were supposed to able to do it the next The Simpsons Let's Play game, but I think, seemingly to say, this will have to wait for a long period of time, until when it gets to the point likely until a few days time or something, because either way, we are still currently busy on some other like Let's Play schedules and all that stuff, but either way though, sometimes though, that's, you know, schedules can be a little bit of a busy work. So, it's worth pointing things out right away, because I know you fans out there will expect you to able to see Simpsons back on new forms of our channel ever since in Road Rage on the Nintendo GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox, which I'm afraid to say that can wait for a long period of time, because as far as I'm aware, we haven't exactly completed that game for quite some time. So anyways, let's go ahead and activate the switch here. So that way we can able to access to more coins as well as the next red diamond. So either way, the ultimate goal in most of these stages, as you can tell from this point right there, when it comes to the actual pausing screen in addition with that as well, the ultimate goal for this is the fact that we need to collect the insane amount of those, or in this case for this matter, more of those red diamonds. And oh god, I did not notice the bridge is being broke apart. So yeah, thankfully though, you don't die in this game though, because unlike in other games though, well, including the forms of, let's just say in Wario Land 2 and Wario Land 3, you don't necessarily die in this game though, although the only time you will die though is of course if your heart is low on health. So even then, when it comes to the actual bottomless pits or something like that, as you can clearly tell, you don't necessarily get yourselves an automatic game over. Instead, you actually transport into the forms of some sort of a hellish section where you can basically avoid a lot of water, which if you dare touch the water, this will actually lose your coins, and that can be also the same applies for spending on something, most notably with more health when it comes to your garlic and stuff. So anyway though, so aside from all that though, yeah, the ultimate goal for each and every single level, all except for the third part of each world, is that in the first two acts, mainly with the forms of, well, the first level and the second level, is that the ultimate goal is the fact that we need to collect the certain amount of red diamonds. Well, in the beginning level, you need to grab about, let's just say about 3 of them, but I'm just gonna go for 8 just for the sake of clarity, for the sake of the forms of likely get them all though, especially for the sake of 100% completion of this entire Let's Play department. But either way though, that way it will actually unlock you to the forms of one of those mini-bosses. So, as you can clearly see, we actually got all of the golden statue pieces, as you can see right now. In this way, it allows me to able to actually increase my health points, which either way, even though it might actually correspond to the forms of the halfway point of the actual hearts themselves, which I don't mind it too much though, because it kind of reminds me of almost related to a Zelda game almost. Well, when it comes to the forms of obtaining hearts and stuff like that, because, well, one axe can able to actually hold up for about a half a heart, and then another act by simply holding up for the last half. So even then, and vice versa though, when it comes to the later levels throughout the game. So anyway, now it's time to able to adjust the actual switches and what have you. Yeah, these bonus areas kind of reminds me of almost a little bit more, feels a bit too similar to the forms of how it does here on Super Mario 3D Land bonus challenges, because as you can see on the bottom right corner, the game does manage to able to actually give you an opportunity that it has more capabilities of how the GameCube controller offers, because for one thing, that it allows you to able to use the C-stick to able to utilize the camera controls and all that stuff, and second of all is the fact that, well, you know, they're not much of a challenge though to begin with though, but until later on though, when it gets to the forms of the later worlds throughout, we might actually come across into some other trickier ones, which either way, will point things out whenever we get to the actual continuation point of this Let's Play, so hopefully for the sake of time, we could able to actually just able to, you know, get the actual moving going. So either way, aside from everything else though, recently today in Japan, that Mario and Sonic at the Tokyo Olympics has actually been released today in Japan. So even then, whilst we have to wait until about next week or so until our version actually came out on the actual Nintendo Switch. So, and yeah, I did, one thing that me and Sylvester has already mentioned about this, or I don't think that me and Sylvester has not even mentioned about that at all, when it comes to like playing through Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 demo recently, but we'll probably point things out whenever we get back into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe per se, because either way though, there's going to be a lot of mainly focusing on some certain Let's Plays from that regard. So after all, we got ourselves all 3 of those red diamonds, and this will unlock the actual mini boss. And speaking of which, the first boss you're actually going to encounter with is Green Fist, which, as far as the actual name of this particular boss fight. So even then, the actual first boss only has like 3 units of health. You can just simply beat the crap out of him, like just keep on mashing the B button. And every once in a while though, every time when the actual some tougher enemies, or especially noticeable with bosses in general, sometimes though, they usually just becomes a little bit more invulnerable when it comes to the forms of the actual specific attacks, because in order to actually do this in this boss fight though, is just simply keep on like just keep on attacking him, and also rare occasions that you can also manage to deal with a ground pound technique here and there as well. So that way you can deal the amount of damage. But after when he stuns, then you can either just manage to deal with a devastating ground pound ability, or in this case, like a slam dunk ability, or you can able to actually toss him in the actual battle arena, which, either way though, the first boss is very simple, self-explanatory, just to be expected with any other first level levels throughout. So either way though, and also in certain other bosses, they've actually spawned in some ton of like coins and all that stuff, which then again, this game is super generous with you when it comes to giving you a lot of coins, because as far as I'm aware, because of the forms of the actual health storage when it comes to like giving you garlic and all that. So either way though, things can get a little bit more relative and simple and self-explanatory. So either way, I think that takes care of the forms of Green Fist, and then when the boss has been defeated, more coins will be spewed out, and that pretty much takes care of the forms of Greenhorn Forest, which, either way though, so it's actually a pretty cool level to start off with. So even then, yeah, how wowzers was that? So, and also it tells you the actual results screen, which actually tells you how much punch fist you're able to perform. I think what it actually represents for is just giving you more, just more coins in general. So either way, there's not that much, not much to speak of. So, and basically, as I said before, if you grab all of the golden statue pieces, it will give you a half a heart, which either way, that way you can able to actually get the amount of experience in this game a little bit more comfortable. So, yeah, I guess we'll pretty much get ending stuff here, so join me next time on Let's Play Wario World. Here's the fact that we're going to be moving on to the second level in the game, in Excitement Central, in this entire first world. So even then, and hopefully we might actually fight against with the next boss later on. So even then, see you guys next time. Later, fellas.